This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform helping you succeed online. Hey everyone, so Xiaomi has shaken up their naming convention on their 17 series phones a bit. So this is the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, and today we're comparing it up against the originator of the Pro Max name, I guess, with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And so other than the naming convention, how does the Xiaomi stack up against the iPhone this year? Well, it does have quad 50 megapixel cameras, so triple 50 megapixels on the rear and a 50 megapixel selfie for the Xiaomi. And the iPhone has the triple 48 megapixel fusion camera sensors on the rear with the new and improved 18 megapixel selfie camera on the front. The main cameras on both of these are the same sensor size at 1/1.28 inches. The Xiaomi has the slight edge in the telephoto sensor, with it being a little bit larger than the iPhone's telephoto sensor, but the iPhone does have the ever so fractionally larger ultra-wide-angle camera. And with the front-facing camera, the iPhone does have a new 18 megapixel camera with the open gate style, so it can automatically switch between portrait and landscape on its selfie camera. But of course, the Xiaomi does have the rear camera display, so if you want to turn it around and use the main wide-angle camera on the rear to take group selfies, that might be an even better option. Another thing to note is that Xiaomi's telephoto camera is able to focus at a closer distance than the iPhone, so if you like macro photography, then that is definitely a great option to have. To get an equivalent shot with the iPhone, you need to rely on digital cropping on the main sensor, which leaves you with a 12 megapixel photo instead of 50 megapixels on the Xiaomi. These extra pixels are definitely helpful for finer details, cropping when editing, and large format printing. And with all that being said, how do these cameras actually stack up as far as image quality? So that's where I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these two camera systems are going to be best for your smartphone camera needs. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. However, just a quick break from the video to mention that if you've been thinking about setting up your own personal website or even one for your business, then today's sponsor, Squarespace, has you covered with their library of templates, and their AI website builder can get you set up in just a few minutes. Simply sign up for a free trial, then use their Blueprint AI website builder to put together your website in minutes, or select from their library of templates to get started. It's easy to pull in content from YouTube, Instagram, other social sites, and even your own photos and videos. Quickly add your social media links to quickly display them on your site as well. It's also easy to add and customize an online form for people and brands to easily reach out and contact you. And when you're ready to publish your website, go to squarespace.com/grantlikestech for 10% off your first website or domain. I'd like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, which helps me bring you more content like this. Now let's get back to the video. So here's a video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. As you can see, they both are actively recording from the rear-facing cameras. And I'm starting out with the ultra-wide-angle cameras on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So I'm outdoors in my usual testing spot here in the park. Clear blue skies today. Lots of greens from the park trees and everything, and as well as that red shed. As you can see, the iPhone has the wider field of view. It can fit more in the frame with these ultra-wide-angle cameras. So I'm just panning around to give you a side-by-side view of these ultra-wide-angle cameras and how they compare. So let's go into the main camera on the Xiaomi and on the iPhone. So there you go. Main cameras on both. I'm gonna do the same thing, just pan around to give you a side-by-side view here. In the same spot, you can see how they adjust for the exposure and pay attention to the shadows in the trees and on the ground. And then as I pan up, see if it adjusts for the lighting there. And we'll pan over to the right and we'll just test the zoom. So 5x telephoto on the Xiaomi. There we go. And 4x telephoto here on the iPhone. So both very rock steady and looking pretty clear. And the Xiaomi, you can move all the way into max 15x there. And on the iPhone, we can go all the way to a max 24x. So a bit of a longer reach here on the iPhone. We'll just hold them both holding nice and steady even at this focal length. And we'll pull out on the iPhone and on the Xiaomi. And we'll test autofocus in the post with the Xiaomi first. So 17 Pro Max Xiaomi, focusing up pretty quickly, as you would expect, and away, one more time. And then now with the iPhone, and iPhone still focusing up nice and quick, as you would expect. You can see the nice natural bokeh in the background, and one more time with the Xiaomi, same thing. All right, so let's go ahead and test stabilization, walking down the stairs. So you can see how the stabilization compares side by side as they go down the stairs and through this pathway. And then I'll try to stress out the stabilization by trying to jog a little bit. So there you go, quick 4K 60 frames per second test here with the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Then we're back in the same spot in the park, this time at 4K 30 frames per second with log video enabled. So this is log video, and I'll be color correcting this so that you'll see it not as such a flat profile. And just some caveats here, the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max can record up to 4K 60 log video, while the iPhone can only record up to 4K 30 log video. And the Xiaomi cannot switch between the lenses while recording in log, so you're gonna have to set to which lens you want, ultra wide, wide, telephoto. And then the iPhone can. So it can zoom in and switch between the lenses while recording log. So those are some of the limitations on each. And so I'm just panning around to give you a side-by-side view of what this looks like here. In the same spot in log video, so you can compare it to the fully auto footage that you saw before. And I'll just quickly walk down the stairs so you can see the motion and if exposure and colors change and all that. But let me know what you think about this log video footage compared to the fully auto footage that you saw before. Hey everyone, so we're back with the rear cameras, this time with cinematic mode on the iPhone and portrait video on the Xiaomi. So you should be seeing this artificial background blur right now. And these are both set to an f-stop of f/4.0. So this is fully adjustable aperture, so you can make it as much or less blurry as you want. And obviously I have the sunshine directly on me, so this is going to be the optimal lighting conditions here for this effect. But as I pan around this way, you can see what it looks like as the lighting changes, with it now more off my left, and how it looks now with the sun more directly behind me, and maybe shining more directly into the cameras right there, and how that affects the effect and the picture quality. And I'll just keep panning around so you can see how this effect holds up with the different lighting conditions. And I'll just start walking so you can see how this looks with the stabilization and how the blurry effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about this cinematic mode and portrait video on the Xiaomi and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Alright, so here's a test of the front-facing cameras of the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second on each, and obviously I'm outdoors in the park. You've got the sun shining directly on me, so this is pretty much the optimal lighting condition for outdoors here. The sun may be a little bit harsh, but this is going to even out the exposure, and you'll notice as I pan around this way how that affects the overall exposure and the picture quality, with the sun coming more off my left now. And as I rotate all around this way, and the sun is behind me and more directly into the cameras right now, you can see how that changes the exposure and the overall picture quality. And I'll just keep rotating all the way around just so that you can see what this looks like here as the lighting changes as we get back to where we started. And I'll just walk so we can test the stabilization, and so you can see what that looks like here side by side and compare that. So let me know what you think about these front-facing cameras on the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Hey everyone, we're back with the front-facing cameras, this time with cinematic mode on the iPhone. And I've got portrait video here on the Xiaomi, so you should be seeing this artificial background blur right now. And they're both adjustable, and right now they're both set to an aperture of f/4.0. So again, you can adjust that aperture to be as much or less blurry as you want. And the limitation on the Xiaomi is that it can only record in this mode at 1080p, 30 frames per second. The iPhone can do this at 4K, 30 frames per second, which is what you're seeing right now. And so I'm in the same spot, the sun is shining directly on me, so this should be looking as best as it possibly can, because this video effect does require a good amount of light. But I'll just go ahead and pan around so you can see again how this setting holds up and how the effect holds up with the changing lighting conditions, now with the sun more on my left and now with it more directly behind me and shining more into the cameras. You can see it right there. And I'll pan back up and just keep going around so you can see how this looks and how the effect holds up with the different lighting conditions here. And I'll start walking so we can test the stabilization and how this effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about this mode here and effect on the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. Alright, so here's a video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. This is being shot with the ultra wide angle cameras to start out on each at 4K 60 frames per second. And off the bat, you'll notice that the Xiaomi is a little bit darker and also a more narrow field of view. The iPhone can fit more in the frame with these ultra wide angle cameras. And of course, it's being shot at 4K 60. It's going to be a little bit darker than it would be at 30 frames per second. So here's just a side-by-side view of these ultra wide angle cameras, and we can go into the main cameras, which should brighten things up on the Xiaomi. So 1x main sensor there on the Xiaomi, much brighter, much larger sensor. Same thing on the iPhone, should brighten up a little bit as well. And I'll just pan around in the same spot here to give you a side-by-side view of the main cameras and how they look here. And we can even test out the telephoto on the Xiaomi, so 5x telephoto here. And so of course you get a little bit darker, smaller sensor. Same thing with the iPhone, 4x telephoto. A little bit darker, smaller sensor as well. And we can test the zoom out, so that's 10x and all the way up to 15x on the Xiaomi. And on the iPhone, we can go to 8x and move all the way into a 24x zoom, so longer zoom range there on the iPhone. Also looking a little bit clearer, not as noisy. And we'll back this out on the iPhone, back to 1x, same thing on the Xiaomi. And I'll just pan around this way and I'll just start walking so we can test the stabilization and what it looks like here in some low light, as well as move over to a darker area. So there was obviously a bit more light that way, a lot less lighting this way, just some light coming off the building from my left. But as we walk this way around the corner, it's going to be much darker. No lights are on right now. There are no pathway lights lit up or anything. So it's pretty dark to my eye. These cameras are going to try to bump up the ISO and make things a little bit brighter than they actually are to the human eye. And if I pull up here, I'll pan down this way. So a little bit more lighting coming off the building. So a bit of a mixed lighting situation there. And I'll just pan up here so you can see what this looks like here into the night sky. There is some light pollution around me, but of course, because it's trying to make things brighter, you're gonna see much more noise because of that right now. Not too many stars visible tonight, but we'll pan around back this way. So that will give you a good 4K 60 frames per second test here in some low light between the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Let me know what you think about this footage. Here's a low light video test of the front facing cameras on the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second, which is the max resolution and frame rate on each. And I'm obviously outdoors, there's a bunch of lights around me so you can see what this is looking like with some fairly optimal lighting conditions. And the lighting is a warmer color temperature, so things should be looking a little bit warmer, a little bit more yellowish, orangish tint to it. And right now, this is from the viewfinder, I see the iPhone looks to be balancing out the lights a little bit more. The exposure seems to be a little bit more out of whack on the Xiaomi, at least in the viewfinder. But I'll just go ahead and start walking so we can test the stabilization. And you can see what that looks like here side by side, as well as move over to an area with a little bit less lighting. So none of that bright backlight, a little bit darker area here. So you can see what that does to the picture quality and everything here with the cameras. And if I stop here and pan all the way around, you can see what this looks like with a bunch of bright street lights behind me right there, shining more directly into the cameras, and what that does to the overall picture quality. And that's so if you're out shooting with the front-facing cameras at night and you've got a bunch of bright lights around me, you can know what to expect with the overall quality there. But I'm just gonna move back here so you can see what this looks like here in this darker area, side by side. And right now, at least in the viewfinder, the iPhone's looking a little bit clearer. The Xiaomi's looking a little bit more noisy. And that should pretty much wrap up this camera comparison between the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and iPhone 17 Pro Max. And for me personally, you know, I think the video on the iPhone hands down looks a lot better, even with the log video, color corrected and color graded and everything. I still think iPhone overall has better, noticeably visibly better video quality. And as far as photos, it's going to come down to your personal preference, really, as it always does. But stylistically, the Xiaomi takes a complete different approach. They've partnered tightly with Leica, so you're going to get all the Leica different profiles and looks for your photography. Stylistically, it's going to have that Leica look and option for you. It's also going to have more of a extensive pro mode on the Xiaomi, so if you want more control, you're going to get that with the Xiaomi built in. Of course, the iPhone does have access to third-party apps, which can unlock more of the pro style features for you if that's what you really want and prefer. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be what do you want in your photography and videography built into your phone, and what do you prefer stylistically. If you like that Leica look, and you're going to have a bunch more options and filters to play with on the phone natively on the Xiaomi. On the iPhone, you do have photographic styles, and of course access to third-party apps for all your pro features. So it really just depends on how you prefer to use your cameras and what you like stylistically. So that's just my 2 cents on my opinion. Do let me know what you personally think, what you personally prefer. I'm always interested to hear what you have to say and what you like and why in the comments. Also, any questions, drop them down below. I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.